So question 6 says, again, solve the following equation by factoring. Notice how, again, the highest degree is degree 2, so this is going to be called a quadratic equation. And quadratic equations have up to 2 solutions possible. So, again, one of the first strategies is to set the equation equal to 0. So I'm going to write this 9x squared plus 4 equals this 12x. Notice it's got to be set equal to 0. So this 12x has to move to the other side of the equation. Now, if it moves to the other side of the equation, its sign is going to change. So I'm going to have 9x squared. It's going to become a negative 12x, and it needs to become the middle term, and the plus 4 becomes the constant. And now, since the 12x moved over, there's nothing left over here, so 0 is going to be our placeholder for the right-hand side of the equation. So in factoring this, I'm looking for a GCF to start with, but these three terms do not have a common factor because the 4 has nothing in common with the 9. And all three of them don't have an x, so there's no x's in common either. Now, what we pick up on is this looks like it could be a perfect square trinomial because 9 is a perfect square, so I could change it to 3x being squared. That's 9x squared. A 4 is the same thing as 2 squared. Now, the catch is when you multiply these two things together, you have to double it. So you're going to multiply 2 times, and again, 2 times 3x is going to be 6x. Does that give me the middle term of 12x? It does. So what this tells me is, in my formula, if we have a squared minus this 2ab plus this b squared, it's going to factor into a minus b squared. So this tells me that our problem will factor into 3x minus 2 squared is equal to 0. Now, we set each factor equal to 0, so really there's only one factor, that's 3x minus 2. It just happens to be occurring twice. So what we do is we set the 3x minus 2 is equal to 0. Now to solve for x, the constant has to move to the other side. This becomes 3x equals 2. And then the 3, you have to divide both sides by 3. So the 3, when it goes over, is going to go underneath the 2 and make this a fraction. So 2/3 would be our solution. So 2/3 is actually called a double root since it occurred twice. But so there's actually two solutions. It just so happens that the solution was the same number twice. So all we got to do here is just put the 2/3 down one time, and that would be the solution. Now, if we wanted to check this, I could put the 2/3 in here or here. I'm going to use this equation right here, the 9x squared minus the 12x plus 4. If I get 0, then I know that 2/3 was the solution. So if I go 9, and then in parentheses, if I do this 2 divided by 3, close, and then square that represents 9 times 2/3 squared, minus then 12 times then 2 divided by 3. Notice how parentheses come in really handy here. They serve two purposes. They keep my fraction in order, plus they also represent multiplication. If I add 4 to that, notice how that does give me 0, so 2/3 does check out as our solution.